you so much. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. As I mentioned before, we have a group of 20 to 21 youth. They're interested in learning about STEM, and I just want to say that we're so honored to have you here and just to learn from your experiences.
No, I am honored to be here with you guys today. I'm really excited to meet you all. Thank you for having me.
Okay, awesome. So if you can please get started. Just tell us. Oh, by the way, this is being recorded for
Okay.
people that
Yeah,
want.
okay. No
So if
problem.
you let's get started. Say your name, last name. What is your background, and what do you do?
Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Gabriela Aile Renta Lopez. I go by Gabby. My background, I am from Puerto Rico, so I was able to create my professional career over there for 26 years before coming to the United States a year ago to start my PhD in biomedical engineering. My background is a bachelor's in industrial engineering, and I was able to do at least 6 internships during my bachelor's in healthcare, medical device, and pharmaceuticals. So I have a broad experience in that. So if anyone has questions, and currently I am interning at the NIH, that is the National Institute of Health, in the Policy Development Department. And currently we're trying to develop policies for AI applications in biomedical data. So I was there during the summer in DC. So I was more close to you during the summer. Now I'm back in Texas. Um, and yeah, that's a little bit of my background currently. So, and sorry
Great,
about
thank you.
my voice. I lost my voice in the weekend. So I was traveling 26 hours to come here. So it was kind of rough.
No, you're good. Thank you so much. So you said that you have a bachelor's in industrial engineering and now you're pursuing biomedical engineering. So could you please tell us the difference between the two of them and why you decided to go in the route of getting your PhD?
Yeah. So a lot of people are always are like really impressed that I did like a really big change. And it's a big change because industrial engineering and biomedical engineering are two different fields that overlaps in a way. So I chose to do my industrial engineering background because I really like statistics and a lot of data analysis. So I wanted to work a lot with data. I didn't want to design. I didn't want to be a mechanical engineer, a chemical engineer. So I found a passion in industrial engineering. And industrial engineering is more, you have to think more in quantities. I think the difference between industrial and biomedical is that biomedical, you have to design. You have to think about patients. You have to think about cells. You have to think about more biology, chemistry. And industrial is more general sense. Like when I work as an industrial engineering intern, I was working in how to improve manufacturing of biomedical products, right? So I needed to understand, okay, how many patients in the world are and how much we have to produce for them. That was in the biomedical in biopharmaceuticals. So I was like, okay, I like to improve manufacturing systems, but my passion was into creating biopharmaceuticals or medical device for patients. So that's when I said, okay, I think I should pursue a PhD in biomedical engineering. And I asked myself, how can I pursue biomedical engineering if I am in a completely different field? So I was really proactive in my undergrad, and I tried to connect with professors from the biology department, chemistry department, and I interacted with them and told them my desire. And they encouraged me to take biochemistry, biology, analytical chemistry, organic chemistry as an industrial engineer. So when I did that, I started researching like all the prerequisites that I needed to enter into a PhD program in biomedical engineering, coming from a different background, right? Because I knew I was gonna be in a higher success rate if I would have had a little bit of background of biomedical. Um, and when I did that, I tried to do all my internships in healthcare. so I can understand how to build the device in a manufacturing setting so I can take it into a research setting. So I think that is like the biggest difference. But I really like right now what I am. I am a my biomedical engineering. I'm currently developing clinical decision making tools for breast cancer survivors and plastic surgeons. So the coolest thing right now is that I am currently working with surgeons. So I get to go to the OR as an engineer, something that I never thought I could, and I'm interacting with them, understanding how they do surgery, how they what decisions or what data do they use for to make the decision to make the surgery with the patient. So I like to be in the like a middleman and understanding like patient care and surgery. So it's like right, currently I want that is my focus in my thesis project.
So, quick question. So, why did you decide to do that focus for your thesis? Why, breast cancer and the surgery?
Yeah, well, when you come to grad school, you have to choose like a lab, right? So a lot of people know what a wet lab is. And you maybe you have seen like microscopes and like pipettes, and a lot of people talk about cells. But to be honest, I was really into computational, um, more into a computational. And that it's called dry lab because it's dry because we don't have to work with cells or we don't have to work with like microscopes. I just have to work with a computer and a lot of systems. So, and I wanted to do that. So I chose a professor that was a computational, and her research was focused in breast cancer and surgery. And I agree to join her lab because for me, I think I had like a dream to be a surgeon at one time in my life. And because I pursued this route, I was really interested in learning how like surgeons take decisions and how surgeons work. So I think it was a perfect fit for me that it had like both interested, and that's why I chose like basically you chose the lab, but you have to be interested, right, in the research that they do. So that's how it works in grad school.
So, can you tell us what was the difference between, coming from getting your bachelor's to getting now your PhD? What is like the level of like difficulty? What have you noticed? What have you learned that is different?
Okay, so I think like I said, I come from Puerto Rico. Even though we're bilingual and we basically everything is in English, but we get teach in Spanish. I think the first challenge that I had was the language. Like I remember going to the classroom a year ago and started to hear everything in English, although I know English, like I am fluent in English. And I was like, okay, I feel like I don't understand anything. So I think it was a culture shock at the beginning. So I think that was a challenge like that is more like social. But I think that from coming from an industrial engineering to a biomedical engineering, in industrial engineering, we think about numbers and we think about quantities and we think about how to improve efficiency of everything. But here is how can in biomedical engineering, I need to think of how does this disease work in a patient's body, and I needed to think like how tumors work, what is like what was the tumor environment, and I was like, okay, I'm not in a manufacturing setting. I need to think about patients. I need to think about how to kill cancer cells, and I needed to think about how to develop a rationale like really different from the rationale that I knew from industrial engineering. So I needed to cope with that mechanism. So what I did, I struggled my first 6 months because my mind was like all industrial. I only think in numbers. So I got encouraged to shadow more physicians, go to more clinics so I can see how patients like what were the reactions, what it's like the environment, medical environment. So that helped me a lot in to like overcome those challenges. And currently, like I feel more comfortable. Like a year from now, a year ago, and like yeah, 1 year passed, and I feel way more comfortable. Like I understand more like what is patient dynamics, how to interact, because my research is more focused with patients, right? That's why I talk about patients. But if I would have worked with cells, maybe I would have had to understand more like cells interactions and more like mechanics of cells. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of like a hybrid of biomedical engineering, because a lot of people think about medical engineering and they think like prostheses and how to build like a like mechanical arm, or but biomedical engineering has like this broad spectrum of things that you can do, that are not only to design like a prosthesis, but that is a part of it, but we have like way different options to work with.
Great, thank you for sharing. And I also heard that you did multiple internships during your undergrad degree years, and that you also did some shadowing in like the medical field. So can you tell us, like, how do you get those internships? How do you get to like shadow doctors, and like how do you even get to the surgery part, right? How
Yeah.
was that process?
So thank you for the question. I think this is a really interesting question, a really important one too. So I am really I consider myself really outspoken and proactive. So I think those two qualities are one of the ones that get me a lot of opportunities. I try to be confident with myself. Not every day I wake up and feel like I want to change the world, although I want to change the world. That's my end goal, right? And I think the important part is to create a network, and within that network try, and when I mean create a network is try to, one of the things that I did coming here too is like I need to create my network. So what I did was like literally I Google like healthcare events that are happening in Austin. I'm currently in Austin. And I saw that there were like free events that were happening here that I just could attend and see like all the healthcare like resources that currently work here. So that's what I did. Like basically I saw the event, and I some of the events I could even volunteer. So I volunteer in the events for free just to get in. And I was in the like in the volunteering, I was in like the entrance saying like introducing people to the event. And through that I was able to make a connection, and meet people that are currently building their own companies. That is something that I want to do in the future. And he was telling me like his process on building the company, everything. And I was just there by a volunteer. So I feel like if you are really proactive enough and you feel like comfortable to doing those things, just go for it. There's a lot of events, and there's a lot of opportunities like conferences, and conference basically is like a big event where a lot of researchers, a lot of industries like I worked in, go, and you can go and interact with them and start creating your network. And I think that is like the most important part, because within that network you say your background, they know maybe what they need or they want through their company or through their research facility. And if they see that you're a good fit, they will contact you and they will interview and they will get you the position where if you're like if you pass through the whole process. So I feel like that is the most important part, having a big network, being proactive, and literally be yourself. I think the most important part is be yourself. Not try to be anyone else, and try to be yourself. I think that's a really good part. They see that you're genuine, and then you really want that, and that you really want the connection. And I think that after that, it's like everything is gonna be in a snowball effect of positivity.
So then I have a question when it comes to networking. So let's say I go to a conference and I meet you, right? What would you say? What would you recommend to be like the follow up steps? Like, how can I build a network with you, right? Because it's not just meeting you and like, okay, I know this person, but I don't have the contact information. Like, how do you follow up with a person after meeting them?
Yeah. So even yesterday it happened that I was having breakfast in a hotel that I was staying at, and this guy had like really good cool glasses. And I didn't know who he was. I was just having breakfast in a random hotel. And I just said, "Hey, you have cool glasses." And he said, like, "I thank you." And he then like started conversation, say, "Ah, I like your glasses too." And then we started a conversation. And then I learned he was the CEO of a big marketing company. And he was there for a conference. And he was talking about that the conference, it was about aerospace engineering. And it was really funny because then we even when then I was like, okay, how can we continue our conversation, right? And he said, oh, here's my business card. And he provided me with his business card through like a QR code because everything now it's virtual, right? And then we add ourselves in LinkedIn. I don't know if you know what LinkedIn is, but it's like a Facebook but for professional. So I encourage you to do your LinkedIn like even right now. There's no correct age to do a LinkedIn. I feel like if you're in a type of platform like that from the beginning of your career, I feel like you have more advantages. You're younger than me. And I feel like if you take advantage of the resources, things like LinkedIn, conferences, or events, random events that you can find of things of your interest, that will be the start of creating your network. So don't be afraid, don't be shy. And a simple thing of giving a compliment and starting a conversation out of glasses can get you somewhere. So it's really cool like what things happen when you are not afraid and you have the character to just step up and say hi.
Great. So can you tell us a little more about like what do you think are some of the skills that are needed for you to succeed in the STEM field?
So I think a Stanfield, a Stanfield people, a lot of people think you have to be like great at math. You have to be great at math, great at numbers. And I think that's like a thing of the past. For me, being like one important skill to have as a STEM major or STEM person is to be creative, to know how to approach a problem in a creative way. Um, and after that, you're gonna have the resources and the math that will help you solve that problem. So Stanfield is about solving problems, innovating, and creating new things for the future, right? So because you are creating something for the future. And I feel like it's really important to be creative in that way. I feel like that part of creativity is really important and one of the most important things. Um, because math, science, you will learn it through the way. But being creative and having this like wanting to solve problems, I think it's more like the most important skills that you need.
Would you say that you have faced like significant challenges in your field as a woman?
I think I think I have, but I didn't feel like it was like really directed because I was a woman. Maybe I haven't felt the like a really direct that okay, because you're a woman you cannot have this position. But I have seen it in my field, right? I have seen how like when you go to a company and every CEO is a man and you're like, okay, why a big company like Amgen and the CEO is a man? And you go to other companies and every CEO is man, and you see there the inequalities that exist here in a really subtle way, because nobody asked this. So if you don't ask this question, then it will go by like okay, every man is a CEO. um Obviously I think times are changing and that it's like changing a lot. Like right now Stanfield, I think it's like almost 50-50, but we as women were not able to even study these types of topics until like 60 years ago. So I think it's really important for us as women to be really proactive too and to get into this field because I feel the STEM field is going to be a really big field in the future because the future is technology, right? And technology is comes out of STEM, right? Um, so I think we have to be really close with the future and try to be there so we can like attack those inequalities and say, no, I am a woman, I am, and I am here, you know? So yeah.
So what do you enjoy the most about your job and studying what you're studying?
I think one of the things that I like different from industrial and biomedical is that currently I am working with surgeons, I see like surgeries, and that it's for me is fulfilling, right? There and for me, like being in the surgery, being in a clinic and see how like doctors make decisions and that I as an engineer can help doctors, for me, that's like a really big like whole picture. And that fulfills me to go on and go and wake up at 5 a.m. to go to surgery at 6 a.m. because surgery is really early. So, and trust me, like it's I'm not I'm a morning person, but not 6 a.m. morning person. And I think it's really fun to go there and see everyone like nurses, anesthesiologists. You see all this people, all these different careers coming together just to solve a problem, right? Is just to fix what the patient needs, right? So I think seeing that in my field every day and understanding how they do what they do, and for me to be able to help them and improve how surgery is made, for me that's like a really big part. But as an industrial engineering, I needed to be basically I needed to solve problems for a company, right? And that was not fulfilling for me. I wanted to do something that I was really direct with what is what's happening, right? And industrial, it was like industrial, right? Big. And for me, like that was I didn't feel that was my calling. So that's why I changed majors too, because I wanted to feel like more connected with my problem, I guess. But it's really fulfilling.
So I have a question. Why did you decide to get a PhD instead of getting your master's? And how is the workload as a PhD student? Do you consider it to be like a full time job? Like I'm guessing that you don't work aside from what you do. Or do you get paid for what you do? That's a great question.
Exactly. So I decided to pursue a PhD and not a master's because I wanted to be more of an expert in the field. I think a master's, you can get a master, like an expertise, but you're not like an expert, right? Because you can spend 2 to 3 years max in a master's. You can even do it in one. There's masters in 1 year right now. And I wanted to go like I wanted to do more of a longitudinal education and become an expert in this like improving surgical fields, right? So that's like the first big gap in master's and PhD. A PhD program is 5 to 6 years, and a master is from 2 to 3 years. So it's like almost half, like it's half. Um, and it's a big difference, right? And it was a really big decision for me to make because I did my undergrad in 7 years. So in Puerto Rico, our undergrad or our bachelor's of science is for 5 years. It's like scheduled for 5 years. Here in the United States, it's for 4 years, right? You hear a lot about all 4 year colleges, right? But in Puerto Rico, we have 5 years. So I did mine in seven because I was doing my internships and I prefer to do my internships and to get more experience in industry. That helped me a lot in my application process to my PhD than just graduate in 5 years and just leave it like that. I didn't feel like I was even mature enough to come in a PhD when I finished in 5 years. So that taking my time in my bachelor's helped me a lot create network, mature, like understand what I really wanted, because it's really sad to it's I think it's better to know what you don't want than what you want, because if you know what you don't want, you will get to what you want eventually. It takes time, but I think that's the biggest difference. And yes, for a PhD, and another difference from a master's and a PhD is that a master's basic like the majority of the masters, you don't get paid, or you need to pay it out of pocket, so you need to make a lot of um how do you say I forgot the name. You have to basically to get loans, student loans. I the thing is that I never gotten a student loan, thank God. So that's why I like don't know the process about getting one, but I know that people with masters, they have to pay for their own education, and people with PhD, we get paid because a PhD student, I say myself like I'm not a PhD student. I am working on my PhD because basically the school pays you because you are a researcher for the school. So the school gives you a yearly stipend that you will live on, like if you were working anywhere 8 to 5. But here, instead of working, you're working in yourself, and you're working in like getting more education for yourself, and you get paid in the process. So for me, it was a no-brainer. So that's another big reason that I wanted to pursue a PhD, because I was like, okay, I can do 2 more years and I get paid for it. So that was really nice. But usually a PhD student do not work aside. So but currently I got an extension from my internship and I'm gonna work. So I'm gonna work like 10 to 15 hours a week externally. That is not something really common, but because I really liked what I'm doing in my internship, I made a negotiation with my professor here at Austin and with my boss at NIH. And I was like, okay, if I want to keep working with you guys, I need to make an agreement, right? And we met, the three of us, and we made an agreement. And because it's not common for a PhD student to work outside of their research, right? Because you have to be invested in that. But it is possible, but it's really, you have to do a lot of work.
So what do you have to do for the research specifically in your field? Like, what do you research? I know that you do go in person to like the hospitals and you see surgery, but what exactly are you researching?
Yeah. So, basically, I am trying to research on one my like the big idea that I just start developing for creating my thesis project is currently I am trying to mitigate a lot of patient education and multicultural differences in medicine, because I come from a different background. Even though Puerto Rico is part of the United States, we speak Spanish, and we have a different education, like healthcare system. So there's if you know, United States is a really multicultural and multilingual country. And I feel like when I came here and I saw that a lot of the healthcare that is being made here, it's in English. It's obviously going to be in English. But if you see statistics, right? You see the statistics about how many people in the United States speak Spanish, is more than 50 million people. So you're telling me that 50 million people go to even for me, it is difficult to express to the doctor in English how I feel and what are my symptoms. And because at least I'm not used to that, right? I was 26 years in Puerto Rico talking in Spanish, and now I come here and I don't know how to even express myself and my symptoms in English. And that even happens to me. Can you imagine like a breast cancer patient who just got diagnosed with cancer and has that like that um medicine, like that shock, and they're like they don't know what to ask, they don't know like what are the next steps, they don't know who to contact. um and one of the things that I want to create is a companion for these breast cancer patients. And basically, it's like, think about it as an app, and you can go to this app and say, okay, I just got diagnosed with this type of cancer. I am a woman. This is my range of age, and this is my first language. And when they say, then when they input all these things, they get like a lot of information. Okay, like if you got this type of cancer, these are going to be your next steps. These are being the doctors and the physicians that you need to contact to start this process and this process. So basically, I want to create this companion for in a lot of different languages, starting with Spanish, and so that I can increase patient education in their own language. So that's what currently my interests are for my PhD.
Great, that's amazing. Awesome. So now we're gonna be opening up the questions to our students. Each person has like two questions, but I'm aiming for them to ask at least one. Who would like to go first? I like yours, Jomar. You want to ask yours? The second one? You got it. Do you want me to ask for you? Yeah. What was the question? Let me see. Give me a second, because
Yeah.
they're shy.
No, why? No, I told you a few minutes ago that you cannot be shy. I
So he said,
cannot bite
"What is your favorite
across country.
thing?" So he asks, "What is your favorite thing to do at work?"
My favorite thing, um, I think learning. I love to learn. So I literally just to go on Google and like if I see something in the war and I don't know what it is, it's just like searching like, okay, what is this? What is that? And I feel like learning is the best part of me and working with patients. It's really fulfilling, like trust me. But I think learning is the best.
Great, thank you. And then Jemima would like to ask her question. Go ahead.
Who inspired your STEM career?
Um, that's a great question. Deep question too. I think I'm really inspired by women in the past who got us the opportunity to be here. I was in the OR a week ago, and sorry to talk about the OR, but I was in the OR the whole summer, and I felt so fulfilled when I saw the nurse, the anesthesiologist, the surgeon, the rotating nurse, and the surgical technician, and me. We were six in the room, and we were all women. I get goosebumps because I was like I looked the whole room and I was like I am so proud to be here and I am so inspired by all the women in the past who fought to get us here and to give us this opportunity that we have today. So that's why I like to take advantage of that and try to do the best every day that I can.
Awesome, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you. Let's see, Janila, your question.
I said, what age did you become interested in STEM?
She said, "At what age did you became interested in STEM?"
Okay, so I love this question because I was actually going to pursue a way different career when I was in high school. So I play the saxophone. I'm a saxophone player since I was eighth grade. I love playing music. I love to play a lot in a lot of different bands, and I thought I was gonna be a musician for a really long time. Um, and I was already like thinking, oh, I'm going to travel the world playing music, and I was really passionate for music. Um, I'm still passionate. I have it with me here. I was able to bring it with me, and I play here in Austin, with friends. That's something that I still have with me. But in high school I knew like playing music you can even solve people's problems, right? Because even you when you're mad or when you're sad you go and hear music, right? And that helps you relieve and that helps you calm yourself. So I know I was going to help people in in being as a musician too, but I was more interested in pursuing an engineering degree because of my aunt, and she encouraged me to be like, okay, think about it, right? And in Puerto Rico, we have a big engineering school and a big music school, and I applied for the both of them. And I had the decision in my hands at 12th grade, I remember. And I say, okay, how can I combine my passion for music with my desire to be an engineer? So in my engineering school, there was like a marching band, and it was like literally the oldest marching band in Puerto Rico. It was 100 years old, and they still played. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply for the band. And thank you for because I applied for the band. I was able to get a full scholarship and pay for my bachelor's. And that is something that I was really grateful for because I don't have any student loans, I don't have any debts. So I encourage you to find a passion like this and take advantage of in college, right? And it's never too late to start something new. That is a really big thing that I want to leave you guys with. Um, I'm 27 years old and I'm still learning things new and trying to be better every day. So I feel like when I mix my passion in music with my desire to become an engineer, like a really great things came. So I think when I decided to pursue an engineer like STEM, it was like in high school. But I had a big decision to make, so and I know I do not regret it.
Great, thank you so much for for answering. Yeah, what was your question that you had? And you want to ask yourself?
Um, what inspired you to be interested in STEM?
What inspired you to be interested in STEM?
What?
What? Yeah.
I think when I was in school, in high school, right? I I didn't I learned that I was really good in biology. But I felt like biology, like just a science major was not gonna cut it for me. So I tried to look for like different like summer camps and different things that I could like do to get to pursue like a STEM field. Um, so I think like one of the things that inspired me was to like say I like to solve problems. I'm a problem solver. So when I saw what my aunt as an engineer did and what other engineers could do, I think I was inspired by trying to do the same thing and create solutions that will change and better the world. So I think that was one of the things that inspired me to become an engineer.
Thank you. You want to share yours?
How old are you?
How old are you?
I'm 27. 27. I'm gonna be 27 in 5 days, actually. I'm not 27 yet.
Great. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rodrigo, what's your question?
So like during your like career, what was like the toughest thing you experienced?
So I love this question because I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. In my first 3 years of college, I didn't know like how to get an internship. I didn't know I was like getting a lot of C's and I didn't understand how to be successful in an engineering career, even though I chose to be an engineer, right? So thanks to COVID, and through a lot of when you're like in a really engineering college, you get a lot of like webinars and seminars about what can you do as an engineer. But I was like, okay, how can I get to do that? I don't know how to do that. Like I thought being an engineer was coming here, do the courses and then leave. It's not like that. You have to do a lot of other work that does not involve courses. um and then is when I started to researching companies. Okay, literally you have literally the world in your hands, and you can put Google, and you can put like what can industrial engineer can do, and they put all the options. I was like, I'm not interested in this, I'm not interested in that, right? I told you it's better to know what you don't want than what you want, because what you want is going to get there eventually. So I started researching and understanding, okay, how can I be successful in my field? Because right now I'm in fourth year, and I didn't have an internship. I had a lot of friends that had internships. They were already like ongoing in their career. I felt like really lost. I was really sad. I didn't know what to do. So like I said, I was proactive. I sat down. I started to speak to people and ask a lot of questions like, okay, how can I be successful? Can you help me? Like, how can I do this the correct way? And that's what when I tell you guys that to be proactive and just to ask questions a lot and not be shy, that will help you get and to be successful in your career.
Great. Thank you. Do you have a question, Jonathan? Aliyah, what's your question? Can you speak louder? Go ahead.
Do you think being a woman in STEM is harder than being a male in STEM?
She said, do you think that being a woman in STEM is harder than being a man in STEM, and why?
Uh, I like to think positive and think that we still do not have a lot of challenges like we did in the past as women. But I feel like I can still see inequalities and disparities in the STEM field. Like I said, like big positions, they tend to think men, right? It's like, oh, he is a good fit, instead of saying she is a good fit. And right now, there's a lot of women that are CEOs and that build companies and that are really big in positions in STEM. But I feel like even when you go, my best friend is a mechanical engineer. And when she was in the classroom, sometimes she was the only woman in the classroom, or two more. That's it, right? And a lot of people think, oh, just mechanical are like for men, right? They start like biasing, and chemical engineering is more for women, and industrial engineering is for women, and electrical engineer is for men. And you're like, no, I know a lot of successful women in mechanical and electrical engineering and computer engineering, but I feel like they try to genderized engineerings based on like that of the type of engineering that it is. So I think that's one of the things that I've seen as an engineer.
Great, thank you. Jaden, you have a question? Oriana?
Would you say this is what you wanted to do when you were younger?
Would you say this is what you wanted to do when you were younger?
That I if this what is what I wanted to do when I was younger, what I'm
Yes.
doing right now, this is not what I wanted to do. I think I changed what I wanted to do until high school. The first field that I thought of, it was to be a veterinary. I love animals and I wanted to work with animals. And then I changed because I saw a lot of series of bones, like it was a series of
I love it. Bones, like forensic.
the
I know.
forensics. Oh yeah, I literally my middle school, I love that show. And I love the curves, and she needed to understand what happened to the person and how he got killed. And I was like, no, I want forensics. I want to work with dead people. And that was my middle school thought. And then in high school, that's when I was like, wait, I want to be a musician. I just want to travel the world. And then I was like, well, I really want to be an engineer. So, and then I changed. So this is not what I wanted to do. But like I said, throughout the journey, you get a sense of what you want to do.
Great, thank you. And Jamie, what's
What
your
has been
question?
your biggest motivation?
What has been your biggest motivation?
Let me see. I think my biggest motivation is to change the world. It is broad. It is really broad. I'm trying to narrow it down. But I really want to change and transform healthcare. So my biggest motivation right now is learn as much as I can from healthcare providers and healthcare systems and see how can I improve it. So that is my motivation every day, literally, because if not, I would not been here.
Great. Christopher, your question? Okay. Yes. Michaela, your question? You know. Okay. Jessica, your question?
Well, but you guys already asked, so I don't ask the same
Do you
thing
have
again.
another question that you might want to ask?
No,
Okay.
not really.
William?
Uh, somebody already said both.
Oh, somebody asked a question. Okay. You have a question, William? Okay. So I have another question. So you were talking about internships, networking. Can you talk to us a little more about mentors? Like how important has mentorship been, and how have you found your mentor?
Yes. So when aside of like researching what companies I wanted to work or what internships I wanted to have, um, you always get like how do I do this, right? I told you like my fourth year, I was like how do I don't know how to be successful. And that's when I started to connecting with professors and connecting with like older students that already have experienced. And that's when I got like to have like they will tell like I will do like one-on-ones with them, and they will be telling me, okay, I got into this internship like this. I can um fix your resume for you, and I can help you do mock interviews. And a lot of the mentors that I had before become like even having my first internship, I they helped me like understanding how to do an interview and how to present myself, right? What I'm doing with you guys now is basically like an interview. Um, so I practice a lot with my mentors how to do interview, how to respond to questions and be successful to get the internship. So a lot of mentors are gonna help you open the doors that you seek for getting your professional experience.
So, quick question. So, how exactly do you keep a mentor? Because let's say I can approach you right now and say, "Hey, I'm interested in you," but like, how do you build that relationship between like a mentor and a mentee?
Yeah. So I say I do like a hack. I have a hack. And what I do is I when I start researching about all of this, I try to be like, okay, and see what people where people have worked. And my hack is just to go to their LinkedIn and see where they have worked. What is their expertise? What do they know? And then I just try to send an email or send a message through LinkedIn and say, "Oh, hey, I am really interested in learning how you got into that position." And that's how you start building you can start building. That's a one of the ways. Another thing was like, okay, I needed to know how to do research because I was focused in the past. I was only focused on doing industry work, and now I needed to switch on how to do research work. And I I was like, okay, how do I do research? I don't know how to do research, and I was like in my fifth year of college already, and I'm like, if I want to apply to grad school, I need to know how to do research. So that's when I tried and I looked into my program and say, okay, what professors conduct research in my industrial engineering program? And I was lucky enough to have a professor that worked with biomedical data as an industrial engineer. So I contacted her, literally, I just sent her an email, sent her my resume, and said, like, I am interested in pursuing a grad school degree. And I don't have experience in research. I see that you research in this and that, right? Because they have to know that you already did your job and know what they do, right? That you're not contacting them for contacting them. So after you like research them, you email them and start building that relationship, right? And say, okay, can you help me and develop this skills of research so I can apply for grad school? And she said, like, yes, there's no problem. You can join my lab. And that's when she started to help me. Like I met with her weekly and she gave me tasks and I reported those tasks. And at the end, like I presented a whole presentation on my research. And then she was one of the persons who wrote a letter of recommendation for my grad program because I was like, okay, I need 3 letters of recommendation per school, and I applied to 5 schools. So I needed 3 people. So I already had like an industry and research. And then it's like, okay, who else I can be a relationship with that can give me a letter of recommendation. So that's when I was able to create a connection with like the dean of the industrial engineering department. And I was like, well, I need to create a relationship with you, like, because I want to apply to grad school. Like, how can we create a relationship? And she said, like, you can join being a student representative for industrial engineering, and you can come to our professors meetings and you can be the voice for the industrial engineering students. So that's what I did. Basically, I joined as a student representative for industrial engineering and started getting like going to the meetings with the professors of all industrial engineering. I was already in like 6 years. I was good, you know, like I felt big enough to go to those things because it was like hard to hear that. And I just did it. And like I was there every day. I was like every week, like every month. It was a monthly meeting. And I was really proactive. I talked to the students about the meetings and then I got a lot of opinions and then I reported back to them. And that's how I created that relationship. Um, so yeah, basically it's just researching, learning what the person does and just be proactive and talk to them and see if they're responsive enough. And I feel like if you're really proactive, they're never gonna like I have never had a no. But you can have no's. And I have lost relationships of like mentors. Um, so like, you know, you can keep creating those but you have to follow up. Another thing, you have to follow up. I have to do that. Since I've been here, I haven't follow up with my professors in Puerto Rico So I was thinking like now that I'm back from my internship, like I want to like at least text message them and say like, hey, I already finished my first year in PhD in biomedical engineering. I already finished my first internship. I'm really happy where I'm at, and I'm really proud that you were my mentor when I was an undergrad. You know, some a message like this could help maintain the relationship even years after you haven't seen them.
100%. And then I have two more questions, and that's it. So my first question is, what would you say excites you the most about the STEM field or your specific field in the future?
I think it's that if I create something, I know I created that, right? And a lot of millions and millions of people are using it. Did you imagine to create something that could change a whole life? And not only one, but millions of lives. And for me, that is really one of the things that excites me, that I can fix a problem not only for one, but for millions and thousands of people.
I should have two questions. How? Why do you choose the University of Texas for your PhD? Because I'm guessing
Okay.
that you have a different variety of universities. So why that one specifically?
Okay. So to be honest, I hate the cold. And even though I even applied to Michigan, like that's like I think that's like the coldest, one of the coldest states. Um, I one of like for me it was really important, right? Everything like having ranking in schools is important because the first thing that you're gonna get told to how to choose a school is like look at the rankings, right? And for me, rankings is important, but for me, it's more important is where I can feel and be myself. And I felt like Texas was a state that, and specifically UT Austin, it was a really good school. It didn't snow. Because I am from Puerto Rico, right? I live in a tropical island. For me, what like literally in my matrix, in my decision matrix, the first was weather. Like I need a place where the weather is not cold and it's not bad. It can get 120 degrees, but it cannot get into like 10 degrees, right? So for me, that was the first decision that I wanted. Like, okay, what school it's like really um hot, like warm, tropical, I guess. And it was like between here or Florida. And then I started comparing, okay, what is the difference between University of Florida and University of Texas and Austin? And I saw like the University of Florida didn't had the computational part that I wanted it or the clinical with the surgeons in the OR. So I was like, okay, the University of Florida, like the majority of the professors there, they only did like wet lab and a lot of work with cells and work with other things that I was not really interested in. So when I came to UT Austin, I saw my professor's profile and she was like clinical decision making, computational, surgery, breast cancer. I was like, everything of that is what I want, right? And like I said, you need to know what you don't want to get to what you want. And that's how I like started comparing programs, and then I applied to them. And one of the things that I did that got me into the program that I till this day I say this is the reason I am in this program. It is not my resume, it is not my application, it was not all the letters of recommendations. um it was the proactiveness that I took and the initiative to contact my professor way before the deadline of the program of the PhD program, and I contacted her like 2 weeks before, and I was like, I am Gabriela Renta Lopez. I am an industrial engineer, and I want to do a meeting with you because I am interested in your lab. And although I'm gonna apply, I want to meet with you first before applying. And I met with her. We connected. I really like how she was like how we interacted in the meeting. I was really comfortable with her. I liked that she was a woman. I wanted a female mentor. I was really determined in that too. Um, and I wanted a woman who understood my background as a Puerto Rican and as a woman, and as I don't say minority, but as someone who's considered a minority here in the United States. So, and she was all for DEI. She was like, I am the committee from the for the DEI program here in tech in UT, and I do this and that. I was like, okay, you have all the things that I'm looking for in a mentor, right? Because you have to come, you have to learn, you have to know what you want in that mentor to get that mentor. um, and because she and I interacted way before I applied for the program, she was able to advocate for me in the committee and say like I have already met with her and she's really interested, like she wants to be here, and yeah, and that's how I got. I feel like that's how I got into the program.
Great. And then my last question: what is the what would you say is the biggest advice that you would give somebody that's in high school that is interested in the STEM field, or that might have some ideas or doubts about it?
I think right now, like I did high school 10 more than 10 years ago now, and I feel like I didn't had nor the half of the resources that are currently available online. And I feel like one of the biggest things is to do your research and to see, okay, I see this person, i I want to see what they work, and then if you investigate what they work and you see, okay, I liked the day to day and the of this person, so I want to see how I can pursue, right? And for me, it's just like try to do your research, try to connect with people from now, and just Google literally everything. Like you have everything, like every answer that you could have right now, you can have it online, right? And just start researching, seeing a lot of videos. Maybe try to shadow even physicians or even engineers. Now, shadowing programs are not only for medical students. You can, as a high schooler student, pursue a shadowing program with doctors, and you can be with doctors since high school. And not even like doctors, you can even shadow engineers. You can shadow like any other um profession that you're interested in. Just like reach out. Like I think it's if you have the ability to do that since high school, you are gonna be able to determine what you really want in the STEM field.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabby. Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you. I'm definitely gonna keep in contact with you in regards to the payment on all those things.
Yeah, yeah.
But thank you so much, and I hope
No,
you have a beautiful day. And I'll keep in contact.
yes, Valerie. Thank you so much for this. Valerie is great, okay? You have a really good mentor right there. So
They don't believe it.
no, you need to believe it. She is amazing. I met her a year and a half ago, and we have had a great time, even online and a distance. So you have a really good mentor right there, okay? So have a nice day. Thank you for having me. Bye all. Bye.